government, they called the people that went to the fire season 2019-20, they called them heroes.
The reality is now, we have people who are volunteers who are suffering.
I'm disgusted in it, to be honest.
It doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it's fair.
They've had many years to fix it, and they haven't.
They're the heroes credited with saving lives and livelihoods in 2020. But after 40 years with the Lavington Rural Fire Brigade, firefighter Bruce Barnes never envisioned the real battle would be with his own health.
Yeah, I remember driving into a town called Frogmore, and everyone was leaving that town, and I'm sort of thinking, I'm looking at the smoke and thinking, we're going the wrong way.
We've got large explosions coming from this shed.
But during the decades, a silent killer was eroding Bruce's health from the inside. Smoke.
The 2019-20 fire season, there was smoke at our station for 5 weeks.
Bushfire smoke really has a cocktail of dusts and gases. Many of these chemicals and gases contain substances that are quite hazardous to health.
I'm at the Epworth Fremantle Hospital having a nano-knife operation.
Last year, Bruce was diagnosed with prostate cancer, his third cancer since 2014. He also has bowel cancer and sarcomas on his liver and lungs. His doctors say all three cancers are likely related to prior exposure to bushfire smoke during his extensive time with the fire services.
There's no real treatment, no cure at this stage. I go to the shed a lot. Some days I go in there, I'm by myself and I sit in the chair and I think, what am I doing here?
Emeritus Professor Malcolm Sim from Monash University is leading the largest ever study on firefighter health.
I think the evidence is very strong now for a range of different constituents of bushfire smoke and smoke from other fires as well, as causing a range of cancers.
His work led to 12 types of cancer being recognised in workers' compensation laws nationally as disproportionately higher among firefighters.
Some of the more common tumours, things like prostate cancer, a lot of the blood type cancers, these are things like lymphoma and leukemia.
Emergency services workers get compared to...
On top of battling cancer, Bruce Barnes is also fighting the New South Wales government over an anomaly in its workers' compensation laws.
We just want to know how you got on with your operation before Christmas.
Ken Middleton from the Volunteers Union says under 2015 law reforms, emergency service workers were inadvertently excluded from a substantial increase to lump sum impairment payments made available to all other New South Wales workers.
Effectively, they've robbed us of half what we should get. We have, I believe, over 40 cases currently in the serious sort of cancer side of it.
I sort of couldn't get my head around that, why they would do that to volunteers.
After 7:30 raised the issue with the New South Wales government, a spokesman said a review to streamline its laws was already underway and pointed out emergency service workers are entitled to a suite of other benefits.
Jeff loved to help other people. He was just an all-round good guy.
Carolyn Johnson and her husband Jeff spent 3 decades volunteering with the Grantham Rural Fire Brigade in Queensland.
Probably the biggest one that Jeff was involved in was when he was seconded down to Nowra.
In 2016, Jeff went for a routine prostate check. It showed an aggressive cancer.
There was no prostate left. He was stage 4. His cancer had already spread to his bones and his lymphatic system.
Although Jeff's cancer was never officially linked to his time spent volunteering, prostate cancer is one of the cancers most closely linked in studies to long-term firefighting.
The cancer continued to grow and it spread to almost every bone in his body. Jeff, his pain was excruciating.
Jeff Johnson died in 2020. Despite her loss, Carolyn continues to volunteer. But she's worried the Queensland Service isn't doing enough to warn and protect current volunteers from the potential dangers of smoke.
I don't recall ever there being any training specifically about how we can reduce our risk. I have yet to see any improvement on the paper masks, on the P2 masks. Each brigade should have their own washing machine so that you don't contaminate the family machine with the carcinogenic particulates.
The Queensland Service says it does train its volunteers to limit their exposures. But Brett Carl from the Firefighter Cancer Coalition says 2 fire seasons since the Bushfire Royal Commission, many services still aren't doing enough to ensure crew safety.
We're really not seeing the traction in developing those recommendations. The reality is that firefighters are dying of cancer. Now, we may not be able to control all of that, but we can certainly mitigate that.
Want to come in a fire station, wash your truck?
Bruce Barnes says the New South Wales Rural Fire Service has been slow to replace its low-grade P2 masks and ensure stations have enough uniforms and washing machines to deal with contaminated gear. High-grade masks and clean uniforms drive down cancer risks over time.
I think they need to move quicker.
Following inquiries from 7:30, the New South Wales Rural Fire Service says it's now rolling out higher grade P3 masks to all stations.
So brigades will have that all in place for the next fire season. We've certainly told the manufacturer we want to be able to give all of our people 2 sets of protective clothing so that laundering can happen.
The Queensland Service says brigades get high-grade masks if they ask, and they're issued based on risk.
We do talk about the laundering, things like that, smoke inhalation during our training programs, but it's not to the point of the long-term effects of that and the potential carcinogens. So that's what we've got to fix.
For those families who are questioning the health impacts of service, they just want to change the future for others.
It's hard enough going to a fire and putting your life on the line without not being protected to the most capacity that we can be.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.